You serve 24/7.
There are times when you're deployed, times when you're not deployed, but the fact of the matter is, having you available to serve the state of Texas or the United States of America is essential for Texas and for our country to remain sovereign, free, and safe. And that's exactly what you are delivering to the people of our great state. And I want to say thank you so much for everything that you're doing. No state in America has a National Guard like the Texas National Guard, either in volume or quality or what you've provided for our country. Our country, meaning people outside the state of Texas, they know exactly what you've done, the difference that you've made. The truth, the facts are that what happened over the past 4 years was unprecedented. More than 11 million people came across our border illegally. It's not just the volume of people, it is the intent, the crime, the harm that they caused along the way. Y'all surely know the stories. There have been little girls in Texas raped and murdered by people who have come across the border illegally. There have been family after family after family in the state of Texas alone that have been physically beaten, abused, harmed, or had their homes or their neighborhoods decimated. They needed somebody to step into that breach and stand up for the rule of law upon which our country was created. The men and women who did that are the men and women of the Texas National Guard and the Texas Department of Public Safety. Americans, thank you for your service. I know that sometimes what you're doing may be hard. My only hope is this, and that is that you know also every single day how important, how essential it is what you're doing. Texans are counting on you. Americans are counting on you. And especially this time when we have Thanksgiving. We as Texans and Americans have at the top of our list among our thanks. A thank you to all of our Texas National Guard, those who came from other states to join you from those other state guards, as well as our DPS officers. So from me, the best and most prolific thing I can do to you today is to let you know the gratitude that Texans have for you. Maybe the second best thing is what General Seltzer was talking about. There is a change afoot as we speak right now. And it's something that formally occurs on January the 20th, but has already begun. Actions, planning, preparation, schematics, everything that needs to be done is being done to make sure that there is no time gap whatsoever. That as soon as January the 20th occurs, there is going to be a change in the way that the United States of America protects our border and protects the sovereignty of the United States of America. And we have with us the person who's going to be the tip of the spear of leading that effort, and that is Tom Homan, a person that you probably know is well experienced at this. If I recall correctly, you served in the Border Patrol, served the head of ICE, and as we say in Texas, this is not his first rodeo. He's been down this pathway before, done this before, comes ready and prepared with both the physical attributes, the mental attributes, and the experience attributes to make sure that we're going to be doing more and faster than anything that's ever been done to, first of all, regain control of our border, restore order in our communities, and also identify, locate, and deport criminals in the United States of America who've come across the border, who are preying upon our fellow Texans and our fellow Americans, and make sure that we restore safety and law and order in communities across the entire United States of America. And I am proud to have with us today the next border czar, and that is Tom Homan.
Thanks, Governor. Look, you guys know me. For the last 4 years, I wake up every morning pissed off about what this administration did to the most secure border in my lifetime. Let me be clear. I worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. Every president I worked for took steps to secure the border because they understood you can't have strong national security if you don't have border security. We need to know who's coming in, what's coming in, where it's coming in, why it's coming, all those questions, right? No one did better than President Trump. President Trump's one badass president to secure this border at a level we've never seen before. Illegal immigration was down to a 45-year low. Illegal immigration was down between 83 and 90%. Unprecedented success. Joe Biden's the first president in the history of this nation who came into office and unsecured the border on purpose. This isn't mismanagement. This isn't incompetence. This is by design. So the first morning I woke up with a smile on my face was the day after the election when President Trump won. Because he's going to come back. He's going to finish the job he started. First of all, he sends his well wishes here and happy Thanksgiving to President Trump. Also, we got a secretary coming in, Secretary Christine, the governor. I've met with her numerous times. She's the right person at the right time for the right job. She gets it. She has a lot of great ideas of her own. So I'm looking forward to Chrissy getting through the confirmation process and coming to work with us. I think she's doing a fabulous job. Today is the first day I've been at Shelby Park. I'm here. Governor Abbott has done an amazing job. Illegal immigration in Texas is down 86%. 86%. Think about that. This is a model we can take across the country. We're going to help Governor Abbott finish the job he started, but this is a model we can take across the country. Unprecedented success in Texas. It's a shame the taxpayers of Texas have to spend billions of dollars to do the job that this administration failed to do, didn't want to do. And because of that, what everybody in this room today, you got to understand, you're a national hero and you're saving this nation. Let me explain why. It's just not about illegal immigration anymore. When this administration calls the crisis the biggest they caused, it overwhelms the Border Patrol. And because the Border Patrol is so overwhelmed taking care of this humanitarian crisis, many of them are pulled off the line. And what happens then? 600% increase in sex trafficking. Fentanyl coming across the border to kill 250,000 Americans. Record number of people on the terrorist watch list crossing the border. Over 2 million known gotaways. How many of them come from a country sponsoring terror? How many of them are carrying fentanyl? How many of them are sex trafficking women and children? How many of them are gang members? So it's more than just illegal immigration. I don't care what your opinion is on illegal immigration. When you cause a crisis this big, all these terrible things happen. Cartels are making more money today than every day. They're making a record amount of money smuggling aliens, record amount of money trafficking in women and children, and a record amount of money moving the dope. I'm happy that we finally got a president. President Trump's going to come in January. Like the governor says, we're not waiting until January. We're already talking. We're already planning. We're going to put a plan in place and secure this nation at the highest level it's ever seen. We're going to finish Trump's work. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. What people don't understand, that what you've done in Texas, for every ounce of fentanyl your trooper sees are less overdose deaths. For every person you arrest for trespassing and put them through a fingerprinting process, that's one less gotaway. At least we know who these people are. What you've done is not only protect the state of Texas and the citizens of Texas, you are protecting this nation. And it's a shame we have other governors and other mayors who are right out of the gate have said they're going to push back on President Trump and what we're trying to do, especially for interior enforcement. Let me be clear. There is going to be a mass deportation because we just finished a mass illegal immigration crisis on the border, where anybody can look at 9 out of 10 people claim asylum at the border will end up with an order removal. So you can't ask for the right to claim asylum, the right to see a judge, the right to due process, and we give you that due process, and at the end of that due process, a federal judge orders you removed, we have to remove them. Because if we don't, shut down the immigration court. Those orders don't mean anything anymore. Take you guys off the border because there's no consequences. So you can't demand due process and the right to claim asylum and not obey the court order. That is why there needs to be a mass deportation. We have a mass number of people, millions of people who will get a final order and be order removed. If we don't do it, what is the option? Let them stay? Because if you let them stay, you'll never fix the border. You're going to send a message to the rest of the world. Enter the country illegally, which is a crime. Ignore a court order. You never have to go home. We're telling the whole world it's okay to enter this country illegally. You never got to go home. We're a nation of laws, and we're going to enforce our laws. The men and women of ICE, they're going to have a tough job ahead of them. And I'm sending a message for people that said they're going to get in our way. They're going to stop us from doing what we're doing on interior enforcement operation. I've said it 100 times in the last week. Don't cross that line. It is a felony to knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from immigration authorities. Don't test us. The nation wants a safe country. We've had enough crime in this country, illegal alien crime. It's time to end it and stop it. President Trump's committed to it. He's committed to securing this border. He's committed to having this mass deportation operation and concentrating on public safety threats and national security threats. For any mayor or governor who's going to push back on removing public safety threats from your community, that is your number one responsibility. You ought to be teaming up with us. We have created the biggest national security vulnerability in this nation on the southern border. Because like I said, 2 million known gotaways, we don't know how many unknown gotaways, already a record number of people on the terrorist watch list. If you don't think a single one of the 2 million came from a country sponsoring terror and didn't come to do us harm, then you're an idiot. Everybody ought to be on the same page. Republican, Democrat, Independent. This is a huge national security vulnerability, and everybody ought to be concerned with it. So thank you for your service. Thank you for all the work you're doing. I am impressed with what I've seen today. Governor, hats off to you. The outgoing Mr. McGraw, the famous Mr. McGraw, who I actually, he's been a mentor of mine. This guy's done more for DPS than anybody that's ever worked for DPS, in my opinion. He took you guys to the 21st century. Texas DPS is probably the finest law enforcement agency in this nation. So thank you for the DPS. Thank you for Mr. McGraw. Thank you for the governor. Game on.
Well, there's a new sheriff in town, and he is not playing around. President-elect Trump is announcing that on day one, he will impose a 25% tariff on all products from Mexico and Canada if they do not take action to stop the flow of migrants and illicit fentanyl flooding into our country. He also wants to slap an additional 10% tariff on Chinese goods. Trump's opening salvo already has Canada and Mexico scrambling to negotiate. Mexico's president now claims that migrant caravans are no longer reaching the border. And just 2 hours after Trump posted the threats, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau hopped on a phone call with the president-elect. Watch.
It was a good call. This is something that we can do, laying out the facts, moving forward in constructive ways. This is a relationship that we know takes a certain amount of working on, and that's what we'll do.
And the new sheriff has an enforcer. Trump's incoming border czar, Tom Homan, he's on the ground today in Eagle Pass, Texas, along with Governor Greg Abbott, to get a firsthand look at the crisis that's seen wave after wave of migrants pour across, including 50 unaccompanied children just last night. Homan telling folks to get ready.
President Trump's one bad president to secure this border at a level we've never seen before. Biden's the first president in the history of this nation who came into office and unsecured the border on purpose. Game on. Time to get this done.
Trump's borders are also putting Democrats on notice who are promising to resist his immigration plans.
I'm sending a message for people that said they're going to get in our way. They're going to stop us from doing what we're doing on interior enforcement operation. I've said it 100 times in the last week. Don't cross that line. It is a felony to knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from immigration authorities. Don't test us. The nation wants a safe country. We've had enough crime in this country, illegal alien crime. It's time to end it and stop it.
So we get our rundown around 11 a.m. every day. And the thing I've been looking forward to the most is another debate about tariffs between Harold and Jesse Waters. So, Harold, let me let you start, Harold, and tell me what you think about this.
Good to be back. The president, during the campaign, was crystal clear about his position on tariffs. He said two things that I thought were interesting. One, he believes that bilateral relations and negotiations with tariffs will help him extract concessions from countries, be it on this border security or economic security. I think some of the threats that the president's put down, or I should say the challenges that he's put down on the table today, you have to also remember that the other side knows the president also. They've read the book, The Art of the Deal, that they understand that he has said that he is going to look to extract things from other countries. I'm rooting for him. I'm a strong believer, though, that tariffs usually don't work. If you are looking to incite the other side to raise prices, or you accept that there's a risk that they will raise prices on American goods, you basically just double up the price increases. Now, my pal Jesse and I have had this conversation on air and off air, and I know that his belief is that President Trump will do this the right way, that President Trump will walk right up to the edge and not go unconditional tariffs everywhere. I hope you're right. And I have greater confidence now that Scott Bessent is the designee for Treasury Secretary. One last thing, Dana. I hope that, I said it last night, I think that the border czar chief, and last night we talked about the mayor of Denver, some of his comments, they both sound like, again, they're trying out auditioning for a Clint Eastwood movie or auditioning for a role in Tom Cruise's movies. Just do your job. I mean, the don't test us, the threats, the bluster, I think some of that is fine. But at the end of the day, the American people, I'm one of them. I'm part of that 70% that want to see smart deportations. I'm part of that 70% that believes we should have a very, very different border policy. But what I'm not for is this kind of kid stuff. I hope the president's right. I hope his tariffs work. But if they don't, I hope he's able to pivot and do something that will lower prices for everyday Americans.
So President Trump utilizing his leverage and giving them some runway to say, like, this is happening on day one. But within 12 hours, the president of Mexico, she's relatively new, only been there a few months. She said, okay, like, I'll stop the caravans from coming through.
Permission to make an analogy?
Oh, okay, sure.
You want to hold my hand or you want to
This is a safe one, unlike yesterday. Let's say Jesse Jr.'s room is a mess, and it's been like that for 2 weeks. And my wife, Emma, who I love, but this is just an analogy, has been soft and has not made him clean up his room. So now Jesse Sr. comes home and says, Jesse Jr., if you don't have that room cleaned up by 6 o'clock, no allowance. Okay? Now, there's no need to panic. It's not 6 o'clock yet. He may clean up the room. He may get his allowance. And if he doesn't do it, then he'll survive. All this is a threat that there will be consequences. That's all this is. Now, Emma, again, my wife, who I love, just is just an analogy, can't complain. She has no right to complain because what she's done has not worked, just like Biden and the Wall Street Democrats can't complain either because what they've done with Mexico and China has not worked either. So, Harold, I think you have to sit this one out, and all these people running their mouths about tariffs have to sit this out because this is Donald Trump's deal. If you have a guy who had 4 years with no inflation and tariffs, how can you say now tariffs are going to drive up inflation? You can't. What he's doing now also, as a reminder, we're about to renegotiate USMCA. And he's going in day one with a very strong negotiation position now. He's adding a national security component to this, fentanyl and migration. And remember, we do tariffs for national security stuff all the time, like steel. We threw up tariffs on steel and aluminum because, heaven forbid, anything happens with Taiwan. You don't want to have to rely on Chinese steel imports when you're in the middle of a war in the Pacific. That's just stupid. Chinese EV manufacturers are building plants in Mexico. Do you think Trump's going to tolerate that? They're going to sneak around import duties and try to ship cheap EVs and flood the U.S. market? Hell no. So this happens all of the time. I'm not worried about it. And if I hear one more word out of you, Harold, we're never speaking again.
tariff.
Judge, let me turn it over to you. I was like, there's 20 different questions I could ask you, but let me just turn it over to see what you want to talk about.
Well, I appreciate that. I think the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that this isn't Hollywood. And I love you, Harold. You know that.
God better get out that Tom Cruise jacket and put a suit on.
Tom Homan is not overdoing it. And America has waited for someone like Tom Homan for a long time. And it's, I think, 3/4. It's more than 70%. Almost 75% of Americans think that Donald Trump has to prioritize these deportations. And when Tom Homan talks about 8 U.S.C. Code 1324, Section 3, where an alien has come or entered or remains in the United States in violation of the law, and you conceal, harbor, or shield them from detection, or you can attempt to do the same, you are guilty guilty of a felony. So this guy who's dancing around the mayor of Denver, I mean, he's a joke. This is all going to end. He's trying to get some attention because that guy right there on the screen is dead serious. He's going to have a Department of Justice with Pam Bondi who's going to be able to back it up. They're going to have the legal force to be able to do it. Now, let's talk about the fact that apparently China has had a death penalty for drug dealers. And apparently they've refused to make good on that death penalty statute. And Donald Trump is saying, you know what, if you're not going to use it, then we're going to add 10% on your goods as well. Now, I don't claim to be as knowledgeable on tariffs as you guys. I don't really care. What I care about is within 2 hours, Trudeau jumps, and this woman, the new prime minister or president of Mexico, is jumping. Nobody wants to lose the United States, okay? Nobody wants to lose the power, the money that we give away, and everything else. But I think that there's something significant. This is my last point, Dana, is that we get 60% of our crude oil from Canada. All right. Now, if the United States is going to be energy independent again, we have an even tougher negotiating stance with Canada because we're not going to need as much of that crude oil when we start doing our own dance here.
It's interesting. And I also think that this puts into stark relief, Charlie, the weakness and recklessness of the Biden administration and what they did for 4 years.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, I mean, as time goes on, I find the tariffs thing to be more and more maybe my favorite thing about Donald Trump. Obviously, you know, tariffs don't necessarily work if you're just in it for a tariff war with another country. Of course, if you get into it with Mexico, it's going to work for us because it's going to hurt them so much more than it hurts us. It gets a little more complicated if you're going against a more equal trading partner. But the point of it is, and this is what I love about it, the creativity of it, is the fact that it's not for the sake of a tariff war. It's about trying to get something else done. And the United States, for all of time, has sent billions and kabillions of dollars to countries that hate us, trying to get them to do stuff we want. We've bombed them because we liked them, trying to get them to do stuff that we want. And none of it works. And Donald Trump recognizes that, you know what, as a negotiator, as a very creative negotiator, this is something that I can do to do things that the American people want, like close the border, end the war in Ukraine, or whatever our other interests are. And other countries understand it because our interests are, number one, America's interest, as opposed to some complicated thing about how we're going to buy your country and fix it up and do something and then you'll be our friend, and that never works. So as time goes on, I've gotten to where the tariffs thing is maybe the most interesting thing about Donald Trump.
Just a few moments ago, Tom Homan and Texas Governor Greg Abbott left this Texas military base behind us, where a short time ago they were meeting and visiting with Texas National Guard soldiers and DPS troopers. Take a look at this video. This was from a little bit over an hour ago as Homan and Abbott thanked these Texas National Guard soldiers and troopers and fed them Thanksgiving meals and said thank you for securing this Texas border these last few years, often at odds and with opposition from the Biden administration. Homan and Abbott said they're excited to work together, to be partners, to not have an adversarial relationship like it is with the federal government right now. And they said they will work together to fuel mass deportations. Take a listen.
There have been little girls in Texas raped and murdered by people who have come across the border illegally.
Let me be clear. There is going to be a mass deportation because we just finished a mass illegal immigration crisis on the border.
And then take a look at this. Earlier this morning, before dawn, our cameras on scene here in Eagle Pass as a group of more than 200 illegal immigrants crossed here into Eagle Pass, including 50 unaccompanied minors, unaccompanied children traveling completely alone. We caught up with two little girls from Guatemala, ages 7 and 10, who said they were linking up with family in the U.S. Take a listen.
¿Usted, mija, qué edad tiene? 10 añitos. ¿Y usted, mami? 7. ¿Vienen solas o vienen solas? Desde allá las mandaron. ¿Y tienen familia aquí en los Estados Unidos? Sí. ¿Dónde?
Los estados.
Pero no sabes qué estado.
Texas.
And Jillian, now that Homan and Governor Abbott have left Eagle Pass, they have now gotten on helicopters. They are heading down to the Rio Grande Valley, where they're going to have another border event together this afternoon in the city of Edinburgh.
Well, it appears the president-elect is going back to the same playbook he used in his first term. That is threatening tariffs to impose those on Mexico, albeit at a much larger scale than he did the first time, in an effort to get them to do more to stop illegal immigration. You'll remember back in 2019, the president-elect Trump threatened to tariff Mexico on billions of dollars of goods, but then dropped his threat after Mexico agreed to send 6,000 troops to its border with Guatemala to stop illegal immigration and agreed to take in more asylum seekers through the Remain in Mexico policy. Now, last night, Trump said on day one he would impose a 25% tariff on all products from Mexico and Canada and an additional 10% tariff on all products from China unless they do more to stop illegal immigration and drug flow, particularly fentanyl. Well, today, Mexico's new president, Claudia Sheinbaum, says she's prepared to retaliate with tariffs of her own on American goods, and she said that they're open to dialogue and is hoping to have a call with President-elect Trump.
It is not acceptable and would cause the U.S. and Mexico inflation and job losses. 70% of the illegal weapons seized from criminals in Mexico come from your country. The weapons are not produced by us. The synthetic drugs are not consumed by us.
Meantime, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said he had a good call with Trump last night and about constructive ways to move forward. Canada has struggled to secure the border in the Swanton sector across from Vermont, New Hampshire, and New York. U.S. Border Patrol there posting, quote, Border Patrol agents in Swanton sector have apprehended more than 19,000 subjects from 97 different countries since October 1st, 2023, which is more than its last 17 fiscal years combined. Canada, Mexico, and China, of course, are America's top three trading partners. The U.S. importing cars, machinery, minerals, oil, computers, agriculture, you name it, from these countries. And some economists, Democrats, and now also retailers, footwear distributors, for instance, saying, John, that tariffs would mean higher prices for consumers.
26.5 million people in this country said, please deport the national security threats. And you've got these mayors saying, no, we're not going to cooperate.
Yes, and these sound bites and these statements by Democratic mayors are coming just 1 week after the horrific details of the Lake and Riley trial. And I think that's important for us to remember that illegal immigration has a face, it has a name, it has a story. And so when that announcement went out of over 1.4 million migrants that are here illegally, at least, and their deportation orders were sent out. When Tom Homan says take it serious, he means take it serious. And so the mayors that are not abiding by the law, I think there'll be consequences for them. And so we're setting up this law and order discussion that is going to rain down, I think, very hard on these Democratic mayors not willing to put safety and security first.
All right, so let's wind the clock back to the Obama administration. These were the priorities for deportation of the Obama DHS, according to the Bipartisan Policy Center. Persons engaged in or suspected of terrorism or espionage who otherwise pose threats to national security, convicted gang members, persons apprehended at the border attempting to unlawfully enter the country, persons convicted of a felony other than offenses related to a person's immigration status or aggravated felonies. That's exactly what Trump wants to do. So why is he getting the pushback?
Listen, I think there's two different things here, right? Because I do think everything that the Obama administration did around making sure that we kept our country safe, Democratic mayors and Democratic governors worked with him. I think what the Trump administration needs to be asking here is, will you use your police force, which should be focused on public safety in your community, right? Will you use your police force to go after folks who might not be these individuals? And I think that's the bright line that we have to make.
But he said national security.
Hold on a second.
Let me ask you this
question. The president's saying two things at the same time, and I think that's what Democratic governors and mayors are trying to overcome. You can't say that you want mass deportations, and at the same time you said you want surgical precision on getting rid of those folks who are here who are committing crimes.
Actually,
just to button this up, in terms of mass deportations, how many people did Obama deport?
He deported a lot of people. He deported more than Donald Trump did, to the tune of millions.
5.3 million.
I don't deny that.
Donald Trump deported 1.5. So why are the Democrats like going mass deportation when Obama was, according to some people, the deporter in chief?
And it's actually not speaking out of two different sides of their mouth, right? Border security is safety and security in our neighborhoods and communities. That's what voters responded to. All of the voters across the country, mothers, families that have been affected by the illegal immigrant crime that has traversed our cities coast to coast, it's a direct tie. So when you talk about wanting safety and security, it has to start with securing the border, and it has to start that ensuring that those that are in the interior that are here illegally return home and then go through legal routes to come back to this country.
But part of Obama's thing was persons apprehended at the border attempting to unlawfully enter the country. They will be deported.
There's nobody saying that we should not deport folks who are here illegally. There's nobody saying that we shouldn't deport folks that commit crimes. I think there's a different line of people who are saying, if you are seeking asylum and you're waiting for your asylum claim, if you are a family and you have a child here, if you're working in our farm industry and you're helping keep prices low, there should be a distinction. I think that's what we're saying. And what we're trying to do, when you say illegal crime and immigrants in the same sentence, you're saying that's all of them. That is not necessarily true.
No, I'm saying what
Some
Tom
of them are
Homan
here
said, which is safety and security in our border is critical, and it starts now.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.